It's Sarah, and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video, we're going to show you how to crochet the ladies' summer bucket hat. It's a nice, roomy, comfortable hat. It will fit a head between 18 and 20 inches, so you do have lots of room for comfort. Now, this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. Let's talk about yarn for this project. These two hats are stitched with variegated and some solid yarns, and so you can use any colors that you would like of cotton yarn. That's a medium number 4. Now, if you prefer an acrylic or a cotton acrylic or cotton poly blend, those will all work just fine as long as they're a medium number 4. This pattern is intended for number 4 yarns. If you choose a lighter or heavier weight, you're not going to get a good fit. Also, because variegated yarns are a little bit difficult to see when filming, I'm going to be using these different solid colors on mine just to make a fun, colorful hat for myself. We're going to be stitching today with our eye hook, and the eye hook is a 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle for weaving in those ends, and you'll also need your scissors. You can add a button or a flower or any sort of applique that you would like, and I'm just going to add this cute little yellow flower. It's actually not little, it's a good sized 2-inch button. And so you can choose any appliques or buttons that you would like to add, or don't add one at all. We'll be starting at the crown of the hat and working our way down to the brim of our hat. All right, I'm beginning with the yellow yarn. Of course, you can use any colors that you would like. We'll start with our slip knot, and we'll chain 5. We're going to join this chain 5 in a circle. So we'll put the tail of our yarn over our hook and pull it through. We'll snug this down, and then we'll tie that stay knot that keeps our chain 5 from coming undone. There we go. All right, let me pull a little bit more yarn out. Now, I'm going to go in that chain 5, pull up a loop, and chain 3. I will be stitching over this tail of yarn as I work around. The chain 3 counts is our first double crochet, and so I'm going to stitch 9 more double crochets right in this chain 5 loop. Stitching with cotton can be a little bit different if you're used to stitching with acrylic, because it doesn't flow like acrylic does when you're stitching. So you just have to kind of get used to it. But like I said, I really prefer making my summer hats out of cotton if I can. All right, let's see how many I've stitched. Here's my chain 3, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Let's do another count just in case. It's always better to count twice than to be off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now we're going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch, and we'll go ahead and chain 3. And before we do row 2, we're going to turn this over, and we're going to gently pull on that string of yarn and close up that hole. Then we'll come back in with our needle and we'll weave that in. and that's row 1. For row 2, our chain 3 counts is our first double crochet. We're going to double crochet in that same stitch, and then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in each of those 10 double crochets around. So 2 double crochets in each double crochet around, and then we'll join to our chain 3. I've stitched 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets around. So our first row we had 10, and our second row we have 20. Now we're going to do row 3, and again we're going to stitch a double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, and then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets around. And you'll notice this is going to make a really flat top on our hat because we want it to have that bucket hat look. So for row 3, we're stitching 2 double crochets in each of those 20 double crochets around. I've completed row 3, stitching 2 double crochets in each double crochet around. So now we have 40 double crochets. For row 4, we're again going to stitch our first double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3. Then we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next. Then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the next. And 1 in the next. And working all the way around this row, we'll be stitching 2 double crochets in the next double crochet, and then 1 double crochet in the next. And we call this working 2 and 1. 2 double crochets in one, 1 double crochet in the next, 2 double crochets in the next, 1 and 2, and 1 double crochet in the next. Whoops, there we go. Two, 1, and gotta put another one in there because we need 2 and 1. So we'll work all the way around for row 4, stitching 2 double crochets in the next, 1 in the next, and repeat 2 and 1, 2 and 1, all the way around, and join back to our chain 3. I completed row 4, stitching 2 and 1, 2 and 1 all the way around, and you should now have 60 double crochets. And we're going to do one more row on the top of our hat. All right, let's do row 5. We're again going to place a double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, and then we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, and then we'll place 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And so for our repeat for row 5, we're stitching, oh, we got a string in there. There we go. All right, again, our repeat in row number 5 is 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 2 double crochets in the next, 1 and 2. And we'll repeat this all the way around for row 5. 1 double crochet in the next 2, and 2 double crochets in the next. Whoops. Alrighty. So we will repeat 1 double crochet in the next 2 and 2 double crochets in the next, working all the way around for row 5, and again we'll join to the top of our chain 3, and then the top part of our hat will be completed. I've completed row 5, and on row 5 you should have 80 double crochets. Once you've joined to the top of that chain 3, we're going to be changing colors, and so we're not going to chain 3. And then also, we're not going to need to chain 3 because we're going to be doing some single crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn. And I'm going to be bringing in this pink color. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that in. There we go. Now, what we're going to be doing, let me go ahead and chain 1 here just to get me where I need to be. For row 6, we're going to be working a single crochet in the front loops. Now, if you look on the top of your yarn, you'll see that there are loops here and here. The loops that are facing you are your front loops. The loops that are facing away back here, those are your back loops. We're going to be stitching row 6 in the front loops, and then we'll be stitching row 7 in the back loops. All right, we're going to be stitching 1 single crochet in each stitch around, stitching only in the front loops. So we'll go in that first front loop and stitch a single crochet, and we'll do this all the way around for row 6. Go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through both loops, only stitching in the front loop. And what this does is this gives us that little edge trim. Let me grab this other one. See this little edge here? That's what we're stitching to finish off the top of our bucket hat portion, and then we'll begin stitching down the sides. Alright, so 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets around, working in the front loops only. See, we still have this loop back here where we'll stitch our next row. We'll work this all the way around and we'll join back to that single crochet. And just to repeat, 1 single crochet in each of the stitches around, working in the front loops only. And also, remember, the yarn choices and the color changes are up to you. I completed this row of 1 single crochet in each of the front loops. We're going to join to the first single crochet, and then we'll cut our yarn because we're going to change colors again. If you're going to use the same yellow, you can always leave your yarn attached, or whatever color you used here. If you're going to use the same color for the side of your hat, you can leave that color attached if you want to. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. I'm just going to pull it to the back here so it's out of the way. And now we're going to join in our next color. Now, like I said, if you were using the same color, you could go ahead and bring that back in. but I'm going to be using a purple just so that you can see the different colors and how the stitches work. All right, so I'm going to go in that back loop. I'm going to pull up my loop from my purple, and I'm going to chain 3. There we go. And now we're going to be working in these back loops. So what I like to do is sort of push that row of single crochet forward so that I can see those loops. And we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those loops. In each of those stitches, working all the way around. One double crochet in each of those double crochet stitches, working in the back loops from row 5. Now, we did the front loops of row 5 on this row, and now we're doing the back loops of row 5 for row 7. Your stitch count is going to remain the same. 80, we should have 80 single crochets and 80 double crochets on this row because we didn't add or subtract any stitches. All right, so you can see I'm starting to work the side of my hat, and this is going to stand up for the top of the bucket hat. And so I'm stitching 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, and when I get back around, I'll join to that chain 3. I've completed this row of double crochets, 1 double crochet in each stitch around, stitching in those back loops. And now we're just going to chain 3. We join to the top of our chain 3 and chain 3. And now for row 8, we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. And I'm finding out this purple is just a little bit splitty, so I'm going to try to pull that just a little tighter. Some cottons can be that way because they don't wind up as well as some of the acrylic or cotton acrylic blends. There we go. All right, so for row 8, we're just stitching 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. We're not doing any front post or back post, just the regular going through both loops, stitching our double crochets. And what we're doing now is we're building up the side of our bucket hat. So we'll continue to work 1 double crochet in each double crochet around and join to our chain 3. I completed that row of 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, and this is the way that your hat should look with those 2 rows. Join to the top of our chain 3 and chain 3. And now we're going to repeat what we did on this row for 4 more rows to build down the side of our hat. So what we'll do for 4 more rows is we'll place 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. We'll join to our chain 3, and then we'll chain 3 and repeat up through row 12. So we're repeating row 8 4 more times or up through row 12. I've repeated row 8 up through row 12. One double crochet and each double crochet around. And again, you should have 80 double crochets in each row. Now, I'm going to be stitching half double crochets for 2 rows. So now I'm going to be changing colors. I'm going to leave my purple attached because I'm going to do 2 rows of this green so that it looks like I have a hat band, and then I'm going to bring the purple back in. If you're changing colors, you can go ahead and cut that if you feel more comfortable. I'm going to leave it there. That way it'll be one less piece of yarn that I have to weave in. Alright, so I'm going to bring my green in, snug that down, and I'm only going to chain 2. That's because I'm going to stitch a row of half double crochets. So I'm going to place 1 half double crochet in each of the double crochets around. Get that string out of the way there. Alright, now to stitch a half double crochet, you yarn over, going through both loops, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. There we go. It makes a little bit shorter of a stitch, and I think it makes a nice addition doing it in a different color. And by doing it this way, it looks like a hat band on our bucket hat. So I'll be stitching 1 half double crochet in each of the double crochets around, and then I'll join to the top of my chain 2. So 1 half double crochet in each double crochet around. I've completed this row of half double crochets around. I'm going to join to the top of that chain 2 with a slip stitch and chain 2. And now this next row, I'm just going to repeat what we did on this row. 1 half double crochet in each of the half double crochets around. There we go. It's hard to get that hook in there sometimes. And again, the stitch count is the same. We didn't add or subtract any stitches. We're just stitching 1 half double crochet in each of the half double crochets around, and then we'll join back to that chain 2. I've completed these 2 rows of the half double crochet, and now I'm going to bring my purple back in. So I'm going to cut my green yarn. I'm finished with it. And I'm going to bring the purple back in. And by doing it this way, that eliminates me having to weave that purple in twice. Alright, let's go ahead and chain 3. And just to note, anytime you're changing colors, make sure you do the chain 2 or chain 3 after the color change. If I were to go ahead and do this chain 3 in green, I would have 1 stitch that's the wrong color on that row. Alright, so now we're going to begin forming the brim of the hat that sort of flares out a little bit. So what we're going to do, our chain 3 here counts as our first double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet in the same stitch as that chain 3. Then we're going to double crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Then in that next stitch, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. One and 2. And that's how the repeat will work for this row. We want the hat to flare out some, but we don't want it to be ripply, because on a bucket hat, you usually don't have a ripple trim or a ripple brim. All right, so the way the repeat works is 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then you'll stitch 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And that's the repeat. 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. There we go. And 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And this will cause the edge of the brim of the hat to flare out. But like I said, we don't want it to ripple. We want it to lay out flat so it looks like that bucket style hat. Alright, so I'm going to continue this on around, stitching 1 double crochet in the next 3. And then 2 double crochets in the next. And again, like I said, repeat that working all the way around. And then we'll join back to that chain 3. I completed that row to begin flaring out the bottom of my bucket hat, or the brim of my bucket hat. I joined to my chain 3 and chained 3. And now for the next 2 rows, we're just going to place 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around. And we're going to repeat this for 2 rows. So 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around. We'll join to the chain 3 and repeat. 1 double crochet in each double crochet around for 2 rows. I completed those 2 rows of double crochet. Here's the row where we flared out, and then we did 2 rows of double crochet. I decided to do my second row in the yellow so it would tie in with the top of the hat. And now all that's left to do is to finish off with 2 rows of single crochet. And I'm going to bring my pink back in so that it ties in with this little trim here. That way my colors sort of match, even though I've got a lot of color going on. Alright, so now we're going to bring in our last color. And again, if you're not changing colors, you don't have to. The color choices are up to you. I'm going to chain 1, snug everything down, and we're just going to stitch a single crochet in each of the double crochets going around. And I like to finish with 2 rows of single crochet because I think it gives the hat a stability to help it hold its shape. And we are stitching through both loops, not just the front loop like we did up above. So 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets around the brim, there we go, of our hat. So just to repeat, we're stitching 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets, stitching around the bottom of the brim of our hat. I stitched that first row of single crochet all the way around the brim of the hat. I'm going to join to that first single crochet, chain 1, and repeat 1 single crochet in each of the stitches around. And again, this is because it gives the bottom of our hat, or the brim of our hat, a nice sturdy trim so it stays put and keeps its shape. And so all I'm going to do is stitch 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and then I'll join back to the first single crochet and tie off. And then our hat will be done. I've completed that second row of single crochet around the brim of my hat. I've joined to my first single crochet, and we're going to tie off. Pull that loop to the back so it looks better. There we go. Looks like I got a string there. There we go. And tie that off to the back. And of course, you can see I have a few strings that need to be weaved in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to embellish my bucket hat with this flower. Now, you can add a crochet flower, a crochet ribbon, or a regular ribbon, a bow, a butterfly, whatever you want to add. And believe me, there are tons of appliques that you can add. But I just wanted to add this great big button because it's just so cute. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I want to put it right on the green portion of my hat. And I'm putting it on the front, on the side, because here's the middle in the back. And I don't want to put it on the back. And so I'm just going to, I've already got my thread on my needle, and I'm making a loop just so that it stays where it needs to be. All right, and this button is not going to be buttoned and unbuttoned, and so I'm just going to sew it so that it stays on and doesn't come off. And so I'm going to go around, and make sure when you're sewing on things like this that you go in the stitches, not the holes, or it could pull through. All right, and we don't want to lose it at the beach or something. All right, so I'm just going to pull that to the back, and I'll grab my other string with my crochet hook and pull that inside as well. And then we'll just tie some knots. Now, if you're worried that this is going to come off, you can add a little bit of fabric glue or fray check. On this particular project, I do not recommend using hot glue. And the reason is this hat is meant to be worn outside when it's warm. And if you use hot glue, that hot glue might melt a little bit, and then you end up with melty, sticky hot glue. All right, and just a little tidbit of info. If you are crocheting along and you're measuring and it's coming out too big, go down a hook size or two. If your hat's coming out too small, go up a hook size or two. Because everyone's crochet tension is different, and everyone likes to wear a hat different. This particular hat is meant to be worn a little bit loose and floppy so you can pop it on and wear it in the sun. And that's why I particularly chose cotton, because cotton can absorb some of that sweat, and then you can toss it in the wash machine. So whether you're making your bucket hat in variegateds or solids, this is a great bucket hat to make. It's super easy and super comfortable to wear. As a matter of fact, I'm keeping